Welcome to the Phil and H Travel Podcast. Is it worth it?
Yeah, we are really excited to get into this one today.
Oh, absolutely. Because today we are taking a deep dive into what is arguably one of those famous destinations on the planet right now.
Right, Palawan in the Philippines.
Exactly, the so-called last ecological frontier. And, I want you to picture this. You have spent decades, literally decades, staring at screensavers of these towering, jagged limestone cliffs shooting straight out of crystal clear water.
Oh yeah, those classic glass-like water photos. We all know them.
Right. So you finally make the trek. You're standing on a wooden dock in El Nido. The sun is shining. The water looks exactly like it did on your laptop, and you were so ready for that legendary dirt-cheap backpacker experience.
Right, because that's the dream, right?
Exactly. And then the boat operator casually turns to you and asks for $45 for a basic day trip.
Yeah, that is a serious reality check.
Massive. In a country that has historically been pitched to the world as the ultimate budget paradise, Palawan has quietly, but really radically transformed. So today, in 2026, this bucket list dream is just colliding head-on with a very stark rising cost reality.
And that collision is exactly what our deep dive is all about today, because, well, the absolute raw fantasy of Palawan, the hidden lagoons, the pristine reefs, the complete seclusion, it is absolutely still there.
Oh, for sure. The scenery hasn't changed.
Right, but the mechanics of how you achieve that fantasy, and more importantly, how much you have to actually pay to access it, that has fundamentally changed.
Yeah.
If we look at the source data, we are looking at a province that saw a really noticeable drop in visitor numbers back in 2025.
Which you'd think would make them lower prices, right?
Exactly, you would think that. But rather than panicking and slashing prices to get the massive crowds back, the 2026 strategy from both the provincial and the national tourism boards has been to just double down. Yeah, they are actively pivoting away from the old cheap beach model. They are focusing heavily on sustainability and quality over pure volume.
Okay, so it's a deliberate choice.
Totally deliberate. They want capacity limits. They want eco-conscious travel. Basically, they've decided they want to do things well rather than doing things cheap.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if the official strategy is, well, not cheap, we really need to start by looking at those brutal 2026 headline costs.
Yeah, we have to look at the numbers.
Because, as a traveler, you hear the word sustainability, and you instantly know, okay, I'm the one footing the bill for this.
Yep, you are paying for it.
And, like I said, the scenery out there is still flawless, but the total cost and the sheer logistical hassle of reaching it, it sits so much closer to a premium island market now.
It really does.
Listen to this fact from the brief. An El Nido Lagoon day trip used to be this, ultimate backpacker rite of passage.
Oh yeah, a few years ago it was basically free.
Right. You'd show up with a pocket full of loose change, hop on a motorized banca, and just disappear into paradise for the day. But today, that routine trip now routinely runs $32 to $43 per person.
And that's just the baseline.
Exactly. Here is the kicker. That $32 to $43 only includes your basic fees.
Right.
That is just your price of admission before you rent a kayak to actually go into the lagoon, before you buy a single drink, and before you decide to add on any extra stops.
It's wild. It forces a massive recalibration of expectations for anyone planning a trip right now.
How does a traditional backpacker even reconcile a $43 day trip?
They struggle with it. Because if you are a backpacker setting your sights on the Philippines, you've probably been fed this dominant narrative by travel blogs over the last 10 years that this is a paradise where your money just stretches into infinity.
Right, the old $20 a day myth.
Exactly. But the realistic daily spends have completely shifted. If we look at the budget guides for 2026, they're pegging a low-end backpacker spend at $27 to $45 a day.
Wow, okay.
And for a mid-range traveler, like someone who wants air conditioning and decent meals, you are looking at $75 to $135 a day.
Okay, that's a big jump.
And for luxury, $140 a day is just the absolute starting line. That's the bare minimum.
Wait, hold on. Let's zoom out a second and look at what that actually means for a full week. Because those daily numbers, they add up so fast.
They really do.
For a 7-day trip, and I'm entirely excluding your international flights here, this is just on the ground. A bare bones budget week is going to run you $180 to $330.
Right.
If you want that comfortable mid-range experience, you are spending $530 to $750.
Yeah.
And if you are leaning into luxury, expect to drop $1,250 or more for the week. So I just have to ask, if I read a blog from 2018 saying I could survive in Palawan on $20 a day total, I am in full panic mode at the port right now. How are they justifying that massive price hike?
That panic at the port, that's the core tension of traveling to Palawan right now.
Yeah.
But the why behind these numbers, it isn't just arbitrary price gouging by local operators. It's not greed. It really comes down to what industry analysts are calling a perfect storm of economic realities.
Okay, a perfect storm. What does that consist of?
Well, first you have rising airfares across the board, which naturally limits the type of traveler arriving. Second, you have major route cancellations limiting the supply of transit.
That makes sense.
But the biggest factor, the one you feel every single time you buy a bottle of water or turn on a fan in your room, is energy.
Energy, really?
Yes, energy costs on isolated islands like Palawan. And by the way, we are seeing this exact same phenomenon over on Boracay. They have absolutely skyrocketed.
So what does a perfect storm of energy costs actually mean on the ground, though? I mean, for me as a tourist.
Well, think about the mechanics of existing on a limestone rock in the middle of the ocean. The power grid in Palawan is notoriously fragile.
Oh, right, the famous brownouts.
Exactly. So to keep a hotel's air conditioning running, to keep the beers cold in the refrigerator, to power the water pumps just so you can take a shower, businesses rely heavily on diesel generators.
And diesel isn't exactly cheap.
No, and it isn't piped in either. It has to be shipped on barges across open ocean, offloaded at a port, put into trucks, and then driven for hours up winding provincial roads to reach a town like El Nido.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about the trucking part.
Yeah, the sheer logistical nightmare of importing fuel makes everything exponentially more expensive, so the cost of simply existing on the island for both the locals and the operators has just surged.
So let me get this straight. When I pay that $43 for a boat tour, I am effectively paying for the diesel in the boat, the imported fuel to run the ice maker for my drinks, and the government's new sustainability tax to make sure there aren't 100 other boats out there with me.
Precisely. You are paying the logistical premium. And the government is looking at this massive spike in logistical costs, and they're just deciding to lean into it.
Right, because they can't fight it.
Exactly. They know they can no longer compete with the sheer cheapness of mainland Southeast Asia.
Like Thailand or Cambodia.
Right. They can't beat Vietnam or Cambodia on price. So instead, they are pivoting. They want to protect the fragile reefs, they want to cap the number of boats in the water, and they are basically using price as a barrier to entry. They are charging a premium for the privilege of seeing the frontier.
Okay, which means for you, the traveler listening to this deep dive, every single dollar needs to be relentlessly optimized.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you are paying a premium, you simply cannot afford to make unforced errors. And honestly, the biggest unforced error you can make in Palawan is getting the weather wrong.
Oh, 100%. Weather is everything.
Timing your trip to avoid weather delays or peak season price gouging is just more critical than ever. So let's break down the calendar, because this province basically runs on two overlapping climates.
Right.
You have the dry season, which stretches from November to May. And then you have the wetter, far more unpredictable season from June to October.
And if we look closer at that dry season, there is a very distinct peak window.
The busy time.
Yeah, December to February. This is when the postcards literally come to life. You get perfect cloudless weather, calm seas, and low humidity.
Sounds perfect.
It is, but because everyone wants that perfect weather, you hit absolute peak prices and more dangerously fully booked tours.
Oh, so you can't just wing it.
Not at all. If you show up in El Nido in the middle of January expecting to just wing it and book a boat the morning of, you are going to find yourself pushed into the very upper end of all those price bands we just mentioned. That is, if you can even secure a spot on a boat at all.
This sounds super stressful.
Yeah.
I always think of the shoulder season as the real tactical sweet spot.
Oh, totally.
We are talking late November or March. I look at it a bit like buying a heavy winter coat in March.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. You still get all the utility, it still keeps you perfectly warm next winter, but you are completely avoiding that premium in-season markup.
Exactly.
You get really solid sunshine in Palawan during these shoulder months, but because the peak crowds have either not arrived yet or they have just left, you get significantly softer rates on both your rooms and your island hopping tours. You actually have room to negotiate.
Yeah, the shoulder season definitely offers the highest return on investment from a weather to cost ratio.
For sure.
But then we have to discuss the rainy season, which runs from June to September.
The risky months.
Very risky. This brings the torrential rain, it brings the occasional typhoons, and yes, it brings incredibly cheap deals on luxury hotels.
Which is tempting.
It is tempting, but this requires a serious cost-benefit analysis on your part. Is saving a few dollars a night worth the emotional toll of a canceled boat trip?
Oh man, that is the ultimate gamble. Imagine this. You have saved up all your vacation days from work. You have flown halfway around the world. You were sitting in your hotel room in El Nido, and the Coast Guard looks at a storm system hundreds of miles away and officially cancels all maritime activities for 3 straight days.
Yep, a total lockdown.
You can't go to the lagoons. You can't snorkel. You are literally just trapped in your room watching the rain. That sounds like a nightmare.
And that is a very real scenario during those months. Consider the upfront investment. The cost of a flight from North America or Europe into Puerto Princesa generally sits around $800 to $1,200 round trip.
Just for the flights.
Just the international flights. Yes, deals exist if you are bouncing from other Asian hubs, but if you take one of the direct boutique flights straight into the tiny El Nido airport, those prices spike even higher.
Oh yeah, those boutique flights are pricey.
So when you are dropping $800 to $1,200 just to touch down on the tarmac, risking your entire itinerary to save $20 a night on a hotel during typhoon season is a massive strategic error. You are essentially betting $1,000 to save $60.
Yeah, that math does not work out at all. And even if you win that bet and get perfect weather, you still have to navigate the human element.
Ah, the crowds.
The crowds. In 2026, the crowd pinch points are very specific and highly concentrated. Coron's signature lakes and El Nido's main island hopping clusters turn into absolute bottlenecks, especially if you accidentally overlap with the local Philippine holiday.
Oh, the holiday weekends are intense.
The boats are practically bumper to bumper out there. If your priority is gentler crowds, you really have to look away from the safest spots. You have to look south toward the capital, Puerto Princesa, or to smaller, sleepier coastal towns like Port Barton.
But, you know, choosing where to go brings up the harsh physical reality of the infrastructure. The geography of Palawan is incredibly long and narrow, which makes moving around it exhausting.
Let's talk about that physical toll, because the arrival gauntlet in Palawan is intense. It tests your patience before you even see a beach.
It really does.
Most international visitors funnel through the massive airports in Manila or Cebu first, deal with a layover, and then take a domestic connection to Puerto Princesa.
Right.
If you are coming from Europe or North America, your door-to-door transit time is going to be anywhere from 20 to 30 hours.
And by the time you land, your body clock is entirely shattered. You are sleep deprived, you are stepping out into heavy tropical heat, and you are immediately thrown into the logistical friction of a developing island.
Your wallet opens the second you clear baggage claim.
It sure does.
A shared van from the Puerto Princesa airport into the city center is cheap, just a few dollars per person. But if you decide to push through the exhaustion and do the long land transfer all the way up north to El Nido straight away, that van ride is going to cost you $10 to $20 per person.
Yeah, and that ride is rough.
Usually visitors just tap out.
Yeah.
That first night in Puerto Princesa becomes about pure recovery. You are spending $20 to $50 for a basic guest house or a mid-range hotel.
Right.
You will probably wander down to the city baywalk, fighting immense jet lag, just to eat a $2 to $5 local meal of grilled seafood before just completely collapsing in bed.
Yeah, that first 24 hours is a pure logistical blur. It is vital to understand that Palawan is not a plug-and-play resort island.
No, definitely not.
If you fly into Phuket or Bali, the airport is a 20-minute air-conditioned taxi ride from your beachfront resort. Palawan requires you to adjust to a much slower, much bumpier reality.
But, I mean, the bumpy reality is part of the magic. Here's where the journey gets really interesting to me. It's the sensory shift that happens the next morning.
Oh, the drive.
Yes. You wake up, you drink some instant coffee, and you get into that cramped shared van driving north to El Nido. The first hour out of Puerto Princesa, you're just looking at provincial city concrete.
Yeah, it's not exactly scenic at first.
It's dusty, it's loud, there are tricycles weaving through traffic. You are honestly wondering why you flew 30 hours for this. But as the hours pass, hour 3, hour 4, the concrete slowly gives way to these incredible lush, coconut-fringed bays.
It totally transforms.
The road starts hugging the coastline. And then suddenly, as you crest the hill approaching El Nido, these massive prehistoric limestone walls just rise up out of nowhere.
It creates a very specific psychological arc for the traveler. Palawan forces you to earn the payoff.
Earn it, exactly.
Contrast this with those highly manicured destinations where everything is perfectly polished right up to the baggage claim. Palawan makes you sit in a cramped van for 5 hours with your knees against your chest. It makes you sweat.
Oh, a lot of sweat.
But that physical exhaustion, that friction, is exactly what makes the visual payoff so overwhelmingly potent.
It really does feel like you have to pay a toll in sweat. Because after all that transit, after the international flights and the layovers and the 5-hour van ride, you finally hand over that $30 to $40 for a full day out on a boat.
Yeah.
You pull out of the harbor, you step off the edge of the wooden banca into these crystal clear shallows in a hidden cove, and suddenly, those 28 hours of travel feel entirely justified.
Just instant relief.
The dust and the cramps just vanish. It feels like you have unlocked a secret premium level of the world.
It is a remarkable feeling, but surviving the van ride and getting on the boat is only the daytime equation. Once the sun goes down, you have to sleep somewhere. And the accommodation landscape in Palawan right now is deeply fragmented, depending heavily on which town you are in.
I want to break down this accommodation spectrum across 4 distinct traveler types, because the stark contrast in these price brackets is wild, and where you choose to sleep basically dictates your entire budget.
It really does. Let's look at the numbers.
Let's start down south in the capital, Puerto Princesa. For backpackers, you can still find those classic old-school hostel bunks and basic guest houses. You are getting a fan, you are sharing a bathroom down the hall, and you are paying $10 to $20 a night.
Very manageable.
Right. For mid-range couples in Puerto Princesa, things are incredibly reasonable too. You can get air conditioning, a private bathroom, and a small boutique hotel for $35 to $70.
Yeah, that's a great value.
And families wanting a bit of space, a swimming pool, and large rooms, they're looking at $80 to $130.
So Puerto Princesa still holds on to that accessible pricing.
Yes, it does.
But watch what happens to those exact same traveler profiles when we move 5 hours north to El Nido.
The price jump is honestly jarring. In El Nido, budget dorms or tiny cramped windowless rooms tucked into the alleys of the main town or down at Coron, they start at $15 to $25.
And that's for a windowless room.
Exactly. If you want a beachfront stay with reliable air conditioning, the kind of room you actually want to spend time in, you are instantly bumped up to $50 to $110.
Huge jump.
Mid-range couples looking for something nice around town or down by Las Cabanas Beach are spending $90 to $160 a night.
Right.
And families needing pools and easy access to the tour boats, they are looking at $150 to $220 a night.
And then we reach Coron and the secluded outer islands, where Palawan has firmly planted its flag in premium island territory.
Oh, this is where the big money is.
Top-end, overwater-style resorts, the kind you see in the honeymoon brochures, are now frequently commanding $250 to $600 a night.
Wow, $600 a night.
And that is just a base price, once you factor in all the local taxes and the mandatory private speedboat transfers required just to reach those isolated islands.
So as a traveler, you have to look at these numbers and ask yourself a hard question. Are you willing to sweat in a fan room with a shared bathroom in Puerto Princesa for 3 nights just to save $40?
That's the real choice you have to make.
Because your itinerary strategy here has to be highly deliberate. For backpackers, the absolute best move is to base yourself in the cheaper hubs. Base yourself in Puerto Princesa or Port Barton, spend your nights there, and use El Nido and Coron strictly as short-hit tactical bases.
I like that, tactical bases.
Get in, do your iconic boat tour, pay the premium for 1 or 2 nights, and get out before it drains your wallet.
That is the exact strategy you recommend. You use the cheaper hubs to subsidize the expensive ones.
Yeah.
Mid-range travelers should be adopting a similar approach, blending those $40 to $70 nights in Puerto Princesa with the $90 to $160 stays in El Nido. You average your costs out over the week.
Right, it's all about averages.
And for families and luxury travelers, you need to be highly aware of the resort bubble effect.
The resort bubble. Explain that.
Well, every extra night you spend inside an isolated resort in Coron pushes your weekly spending into the thousands incredibly rapidly because you are a captive audience.
Oh, because you can't just walk to a cheap restaurant.
Exactly. The isolated island economy is designed to capture all of your dining and activity spending within those high-end spaces.
And that captive audience effect brings us perfectly to how you feed yourself. The strategy of using cheaper hubs to balance the expensive ones applies directly to your stomach.
Oh, big time.
Food, groceries, and island etiquette dictate your daily cash burn more than almost anything else. In Puerto Princesa, dining is a joy for the budget. You can sit down at a local eatery, a carinderia point to a plate of rice with grilled chicken or pork and pay $1.50 to $3.
That's a steal.
It is. If you want simple, fresh seafood pulled out of the ocean that morning, it might run you $4 to $5.
But the moment you take that van up to El Nido or Coron, you are hit with a 50 to 100% markup on the tourist strips and beaches.
Just because you moved up the road.
Yep. Think about the cold chain logistics we discussed earlier. Keeping meat and dairy cold as it moves from the mainland to an island and then up a highway to a town with rolling blackouts is incredibly expensive.
That supply chain creates an instant premium. Those basic local mains that cost $2 in the capital jump to $3 to $6 in El Nido.
Right.
And if you have a craving for Western food, if you want an avocado toast cafe breakfast or a burger or a wood-fired pizza, you are looking at $6 to $10 per dish.
It adds up so quickly.
It is so easy for a couple to sit down at a beachside restaurant, order a couple of pizzas and a few drinks, and suddenly drop $25 to $35 on a very simple, casual meal.
Yeah, that's not backpacker pricing anymore.
I always laugh at how quickly a $6 pizza craving can completely blow up a backpacker's strict daily budget. You think, oh, it's just a pizza, but in Palawan, that pizza is a luxury import.
It happens constantly. Travelers arrive expecting $2 pad thai like they find in Bangkok, and they are shocked by an $8 burger. This is where mastering grocery logistics becomes vital to survival.
Yes. The local mini-marts are your absolute best friends here. Let's look at the grocery prices. A large bottled water is under $1.
Good to know.
A local beer, like a San Miguel pulled from the shop fridge, is $1.50 to $2.
Standard.
If you do a snack and fruit run before you get on your boat trip, you're spending maybe $4 to $8 per person. But the ultimate trick here is hacking your mornings.
Tell me about the breakfast hack.
Well, if you can handle buying bananas, mangoes, and local pastries from the mini-mart the night before, instead of sitting down at the beachfront cafe for a Western breakfast, you instantly shave $5 to $10 off your daily budget.
It sounds like a minor tweak, but run the math over a 10-day trip. That is $100 saved just by changing your breakfast habit.
Exactly.
That pays for 2 entire island-hopping tours.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
And while we are talking about daily cash flow, we definitely need to address tipping and local etiquette.
Oh, yes, very important.
Tipping in Palawan is highly appreciated, but not strictly obligatory. If you are in a sit-down restaurant, leaving 10% or just rounding up the bill is standard.
That's pretty normal.
But for the boat cruise, the guys hauling anchors, cooking your lunch on a tiny grill, and working incredibly hard in the relentless sun tipping $1 to $2 after a good day out is a great respectful practice.
And respect extends beyond your wallet to your behavior, too. There is a specific island etiquette you need to follow.
Yes, absolutely.
You need to dress modestly when you are walking around the towns away from the beach. Walking shirtless into a local shop is definitely frowned upon.
All right, keep a shirt on in town.
And more importantly, you absolutely must follow the eco guidelines. No touching the coral, no feeding the fish, no littering, and seriously minimize your single-use plastics.
And, this ties directly back to that 2026 sustainability strategy we discussed at the top of the hour. These eco guidelines are no longer just polite suggestions.
No, they are strict.
They are the frontline defense for the literal survival of the island ecosystem. The province is fighting tooth and nail to maintain its status as the last frontier.
Yeah.
When a guide tells you not to touch the coral, they are desperately trying to prevent the kind of irreversible bleaching and physical damage that has completely devastated other famous marine parks across Southeast Asia. The rules are strict because the stakes are existential.
So when we add all of this up, the fan room or the luxury villa, the lagoon tours, the local beers, and the cafe breakfasts, what is the actual bottom line daily damage to your wallet? Let's walk through the daily out-of-pocket tally.
Let's do the math.
I want you, the listener, to listen to these numbers and visualize exactly which bracket you fit into, because this dictates your entire trip. If you are a low-budget backpacker, your realistic daily figure in 2026 is $30 to $45.
Okay.
Here's how that math breaks down. $10 to $20 for your accommodation, $8 to $12 for local food and supermarket snacks, $5 to $8 for tricycles and van transport, and $8 to $15 set aside, averaged out, for your tours and fees.
It is an incredibly tight margin. You have to be deeply disciplined. You are not eating Western food or drinking cocktails on that budget.
Not a chance. You are drinking water and eating rice.
Yeah.
Now let's look at the mid-range traveler. You are looking at $75 to $135 a day.
A bit more breathing room.
A lot more. That gives you $40 to $80 for an air-conditioned room, $15 to $25 for a nice mix of local eateries and sit-down restaurant meals, $5 to $10 for comfortable transport, and $15 to $30 a day for the better tours and entrance fees.
This is the bracket where the friction really starts to fade. You actually get to breathe a little bit. You aren't sweating through the night. You can order a glass of wine with dinner, and you aren't agonizing over a $5 municipal fee.
Exactly. And then we have the luxury traveler. For you, the baseline is $140 to $300+ a day.
Right.
Your room alone is eating up $250 to $600. Your meals are $40 to $80 as you dine in the resort, and you are booking private, customized tours that cost several $100s a day just to avoid the crowds entirely.
But there is a fourth category we need to highlight, and this is where the financial reality of Palawan gets very problematic.
Oh, you mean the digital nomad?
Yes, the digital nomad.
The dream of working from a laptop under a palm tree.
Exactly. If you are looking at a full month in Palawan, mixing budget and mid-range styles, you are going to spend $1,400 to $2,300 a month.
Wow.
And that completely excludes your flights. We are talking $400 to $800 on accommodation, $300 to $500 on food, $100 to $200 on local transport, and $200 to $400 on leisure and tours.
That is steep for a month. What is genuinely fascinating here is how uncompetitive that specific digital nomad budget makes Palawan.
Oh, completely uncompetitive.
When you look at that $1,400 to $2,300 range,
Yeah.
you have to compare it to other mainland Southeast Asian nomad bases.
Right.
For that exact same price in places like Chiang Mai or Da Nang, you are getting flawlessly reliable fiber optic internet, modern infrastructure, air-conditioned co-working spaces, and massive networking communities. Palawan, with its fragile grid, simply cannot offer that level of remote work comfort for the price.
It can't. You are basically paying a premium to work in a place that actively fights your ability to work.
Yeah, that sounds stressful.
Yeah.
But even if you aren't working, even if you are just on vacation and you perfectly plan your daily budget down to the dollar, there are 3 distinct traps that will completely drain your wallet if you aren't paying attention.
Okay, let's go through the traps.
I'm gonna break these down because they catch everyone. Trap number 1, the layered environmental fee stack.
The fee stack is incredibly frustrating for first-timers because it feels so opaque.
It is absolute death by 1,000 fees. Imagine this. You go to a booking desk and pay $35 for a tour. You think you are done.
But you're not.
No, you get to the port. Someone with a clipboard asks for $3 to $5 for lagoon access.
Right.
Then you walk 10 feet to another desk and they need $3 to $5 for a municipal park fee. Then there is a local environmental contribution. These small, distinct charges all layer on top of your base tour price.
It adds up.
Over a week, this can easily add $30 to $60 per person that you didn't budget for. The fix here, you have to be aggressive in your planning. Ask your operator for an itemized dollar breakdown up front. And crucially, cluster your premium tours together so you aren't paying those multi-day eco fees over and over again.
It feels incredibly nickel and dimey to stand on a dock pulling small bills out of your bag, but again, this goes back to the infrastructure and the government's pivot. These fees are funding the reef protection.
That's true. Okay, what's trap number 2?
Trap number 2 is underestimating flight and transfer complexity. We already talked about the long-haul international flights sitting in the $800 to $1,200 range and those $10 to $20 van transfers.
Yeah.
But the real danger here is route cuts. Domestic airlines in the Philippines frequently shift their schedule.
Oh, I've heard about this.
If your small domestic flight out of El Nido gets canceled or delayed by weather, and you miss your massive international connection in Manila, that so-called cheap domestic ticket becomes financially devastating.
Oh, because you have to rebook your flight home.
Exactly. The fix is non-negotiable. Build buffer nights in Manila or Cebu on your way out, and buy flexible tickets so a minor route cut doesn't cost you thousands in missed flights.
That is such a good tip. And trap number 3 is the most pervasive. Power, connectivity, and what everyone lovingly calls island time.
Ah, yes.
Rolling brownouts, and incredibly patchy Wi-Fi are a daily, inescapable reality. I compare chasing Wi-Fi in Palawan to feeding a slot machine that never ever pays out.
That is a perfect analogy.
You have a deadline. So you sit in an air-conditioned cafe, you buy a $5 to $10 coffee you don't even want just to get the password for their router, and the connection drops anyway. You just pumped money into the machine and got nothing.
Yep.
Or worse, you lose a $30 to $40 prepaid tour because the weather turns and the port closes.
The fix for Trap 3 requires both psychological patience and financial redundancy. You must carry offline cash because when the brownouts hit, the ATMs go completely dark.
Oh, good point. No power, no ATM.
Exactly. You need to book accommodations that specifically advertise backup generators if you want to sleep through the night. And mentally, you should budget an extra $10 to $15 a day purely for friction.
Friction money.
Right, buying that extra coffee, paying for a tricycle when it rains. These traps aren't malicious attempts to steal your money.
Yeah.
They are just the visible symptoms of an island infrastructure desperately struggling to keep pace with extreme geography and shifting weather patterns.
And this friction isn't just a threat to your budget spreadsheet. It intersects directly with your physical comfort and your safety. Let's look closely at safety, solo travel, and comfort on the frontier. Broadly speaking, Palawan is a very safe province. The risks here are not violent crime or muggings.
No, the real risks are marine conditions and weather.
Exactly.
That is the primary hazard. When you are standing at the booking office, pay the extra $5 to $10 for a reputable, well-reviewed boat operator. Inspect the life jackets when you get on board, and if the sky looks threatening and the water is choppy, be willing to walk away and skip the day entirely.
I cannot stress this enough. Trying to save $5 on a sketchy boat operator in the open ocean is the absolute worst return on investment in travel history.
It's just reckless.
It is just not worth the panic of being on a boat with a dead engine and a massive swell. For solo travelers, and especially solo women, the interactions in the towns and villages are generally incredibly friendly and welcoming.
Yeah, very welcoming.
But the trap here is complacency. You are in paradise, so you let your guard down. Late night drinking, walking down unlit provincial side streets, or casually leaving your valuables unattended on a busy, wet boat deck can instantly turn into an unnecessary $50 to $100 replacement mission for a drowned phone or a stolen dry bag.
If we shift to families, safety becomes a question of endurance and comfort. You have to carefully weigh your children's tolerance for extreme midday tropical heat and long, spine-jarring boat rides against how many of those $30 to $40 tours are actually necessary for your trip.
Right.
Pushing kids onto a boat for 8 hours a day, 3 days in a row, is a recipe for a miserable family vacation.
Oh, everyone will be crying by day 2. And health-wise, do not even think about skipping travel insurance. You need a policy covering several $100s for emergency care and, critically, medical evacuation.
Yes, medevac is crucial.
If you get a scraped knee on some coral or minor food poisoning, the local clinics in Palawan are perfectly fine. But they're absolutely not equipped for major trauma or complex medical incidents.
And beyond medical issues, true safety on a frontier island means preparing for logistical emergencies. A canceled ferry or a grounded flight can leave you stranded for days, bleeding cash on extra hotel nights and meals. You need the insurance and the buffer funds in your bank account to handle that friction smoothly without it ruining your year.
So when you weigh all of this, the grueling 30-hour transit, the rolling brownouts, the layered environmental fees, the expensive cafe food, against the stunning, unparalleled beauty of the place, what is the actual emotional outcome of a Palawan trip in 2026? Let's put it all on the scale. What are the best moments and what are the honest disappointments?
The best moments are undeniably, genuinely world-class. When you spend that $30 to $40 on a full-day lagoon tour and you are floating in impossibly clear water, surrounded by towering, jagged limestone walls that have been there for millions of years, it is an extraordinary value.
It sounds breathtaking.
It is. If you compare that to what similar dramatic marine scenery costs to access in Hawaii or the Caribbean, Palawan is still a steal. The Puerto Princesa underground river is another massive highlight.
Oh, I've heard that's amazing.
It is, and it usually costs $25 to $40, and that includes your van transport, your local guide, and all your permits. That is an absolute bargain for a highly regulated, UNESCO-level natural wonder.
And if you look hard enough, you can still find those magical, quiet spots, maybe up in Port Barton, where a basic beach bungalow costs under $30 a night. Sitting on that porch listening to the ocean, that is where you feel the echo of those old, undiscovered Palawan stories.
Yeah, that's the dream right there.
But we have to be honest about the disappointments, because they hit hard. Imagine paying $150 to $250 a night for what looks like a lovely modern hotel online and still losing power and water pressure for 4 hours in the evening while you're trying to shower off the salt.
That's rough.
Or paying $35 for a premium tour only to arrive at the famous viewpoint and having to wait in a literal line behind dozens of other tourists in bright orange life jackets just to take your photo.
Another common disappointment is how people treat Puerto Princesa. Many travelers view it merely as a forced, dusty overnight transit hub to endure before heading north.
Yeah, they just pass through.
They miss out entirely on utilizing it as a budget balancer, where they could enjoy incredible, cheap local food and much better infrastructure before hitting the expensive frontier.
The overarching theme here, the thing that makes or breaks the trip, is the emotional gap. It is the jarring dissonance of arriving in Palawan because you read an old blog expecting your daily cost to be $15 a day, and the shocking realization that it is actually going to cost you $40 to $120 a day. It is a destination of the highest natural highs mixed with deeply annoying logistical lows.
But here is the crucial takeaway. That emotional gap is purely a product of outdated expectations.
Right.
If you listen to this analysis, if you recalibrate your mind to the 2026 economic realities, and if you accept the logistical friction as simply part of the frontier tax, those disappointments largely fade away. You accept the brownout as part of the adventure, rather than a failure of the hotel.
But what if you can't recalibrate? What if your budget genuinely will not stretch to these new realities, or you just don't want to deal with the friction? Where should you go instead? Let's look at the alternatives. Alternative number 1, Cat Ba and Ha Long Bay in Vietnam.
If you are chasing that specific, dramatic, karst limestone scenery, the giant rocks jutting out of the water, Vietnam delivers it brilliantly.
And it's cheaper.
Much cheaper. The daily costs sit much closer to $25 to $60 per person, depending on your travel style. Furthermore, you have much cheaper, highly efficient overland transport from Hanoi. That means over a week-long trip, you can save several $100s in transit and accommodation compared to hopping around Palawan.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here. If Vietnam offers the exact same limestone rocks jutting out of the water, and it does it for hundreds of dollars less with better roads, why would anyone go through the pain and expense of reaching the Philippines at all?
Because it is not exactly the same. It comes down to the vibe, the biodiversity, and the water itself. Palawan offers a specific, raw, tropical archipelago magic. The water clarity, the warmth, and the sheer reef biodiversity in Palawan are distinctly different from the emerald, often colder waters of Ha Long Bay.
Oh, that makes sense.
Palawan feels wilder. But if your strict priority is just getting the best value and ease for your dollar, Vietnam undeniably wins. Another great alternative is the Perhentian Islands in Malaysia.
Oh, I've heard great things about Malaysia.
Yeah, you get incredibly calm beaches and fantastic snorkeling right off the shore. It sits comfortably in the $30 to $80 per person per day band for backpackers and mid-range travelers. And the logistics are vastly simpler. You take a bus and a quick ferry rather than hopping between isolated island airports and 5-hour van rides.
So, with all the numbers crunched, the traps exposed, and the alternatives laid out on the table, it is time for our final, definitive ruling. Let's run through the Is It Worth It matrix for Palawan in 2026.
Let's do it.
For the backpacker, the verdict is yes with conditions. You can still do it, but you must be incredibly disciplined. You need to budget $30 to $45 a day. You have to use the cheaper bases like Puerto Princesa and Port Barton, eat at the local carinderias, and pick just 2 or 3 key $30 to $40 tours for the whole week. You have to mentally expect mid-range Southeast Asia prices, not the ultra-cheap prices of the past.
Right. For the mid-range couple, the verdict is a solid yes. If you are comfortable spending $75 to $135 a day and allocating $40 to $80 of that for your rooms, Palawan offers an incredible big adventure for the money. You just have to view it in the exact same premium price category as Bali or southern Thailand, rather than a budget outpost.
Absolutely. For the family, it is yes with conditions. You have to remember that booking multiple $30 to $40 boat tours for 4 people, plus a $100 to $200 room with a pool, quickly pushes your daily range to $250 to $400.
That's a huge budget shift.
It is. The key survival strategy for families is to stick to just 2 hubs. Do not try to see the whole island. Build in rest days by the pool to prevent serious transit fatigue for the kids.
Very smart. And for the luxury traveler, yes, with conditions. If you are spending $250 to $600 a night, you must do it because you want raw, breathtaking, isolated beauty, not because you want polished, flawless perfection. A $500 night in Palawan is not going to behave like a frictionless Maldives all-inclusive resort. You have to accept the occasional brownout or bumpy speedboat transfer as part of the wild setting.
And finally, for the digital nomad, the verdict is a firm NO. At $1,400 to $2,300 a month before you even buy your international flights, combined with bad internet and rolling power outages, Palawan simply cannot compete with the infrastructure of Da Nang, Chiang Mai, or Penang. Treat Palawan as a 10 to 14-day workation splurge where you accept spending $40 to $80 a day, but absolutely do not make it your permanent productive base.
As we wrap this up, there is one final provocative question that underpins everything we've discussed today about Palawan's rising costs. If the government successfully executes this 2026 strategy, if it transitions away from the massive backpacker crowds, severely limits the boats, raises the prices, and successfully saves its fragile ecology, will the last frontier lose the exact raw, accessible, adventurous spirit that made it famous to the world in the first place? Can an island truly save its reefs without losing its soul?
If this gave you the honest verdict you needed, please subscribe for more.
That is the honest verdict from Phil and H.